have my own consulting company. So for the purposes of this, playing moderator, I'm going to be kind of like the consultant moderator as opposed to, someone from NetScore. So.
Okay.
All right, so before we get started, since this is going to be an edited piece, I'd like both of you to kind of state your name and then spell your name, just so our editors are able to get the correct spelling. And if you'll share with us the title that you want to be included on the credit. So Lane, you go first if you would.
Yeah, I'm Lane Batson, that's L-A-N-E. Batson, B-A-T-S-O-N, and I am president of ECP Solutions.
Okay, and Barry, if you'll do the same for me.
I'm Barry Rickman, that's B-A-R-R-Y-R-I-C-K-M-A-N, and I'm the CEO of Modus ATL.
Okay. All right, so Barry, we are recording, and I'm going to turn it over to you, and you got the floor.
So welcome. I'm Barry Rickman, CEO of consulting company Modus ATL. We'd like to explore a customer's journey with NetScore Technologies equipment rental that extends the capabilities of Oracle's NetSuite. The exploration is sponsored by NetScore. NetScore is a cloud-native company with a wide array of application solutions that are tightly integrated with Oracle NetSuite. They have a platform as a service offering called Flexicon, which is like an infrastructure for e-stores. They also have other applications like POS, delivery and routing, warehouse management, and a lot of plugins for various e-stores and marketplaces and logistics providers and things like that. So a little bit about me, your moderator for today's talk. We're going to be first, I'd like to mention we're working here today with Lane Batson. He's the CEO or the president of ECP Solutions, and we're going to be exploring his journey with NetScore. And I'm the owner and principal consultant at Modus ATL. I have over 35 years of experience in various roles, from being a sales executive to director positions at NCR, Micros, Centerplate, and Oracle. I've mainly focused in manufacturing and logistics in the hospitality markets. So now to begin the customer journey, first a little bit about ECP Solutions. It's a highly successful 64-year-old company that rents, sells, and leases a vast array of electrical testing and inspection equipment in the Houston metro area. Today, we're going to talk about their business. We're going to talk about the pain points that they've had, solutions that they deployed to alleviate those pain points, and then ultimately any payback or ROI from the solutions. So I'd like to introduce, at this point, the president of ECP, Lane.
Hello. Thank you very much for having me today.
Great. Do you want me to do the introducing Chris as well right now? You're muted. You're muted.
So, Lane, if you wanted to give just a little bit of an overview of...
No, I'm going to ask, I'll ask him
okay.
about that, but I didn't know if you wanted me to introduce Chris right now and then go into asking.
Keep on going with Lane.
Oh, okay, that's great. Okay. Sure. So Lane, we're really excited now to hear about your company and yourself and just a synopsis of what you do.
Sure. Well, as you mentioned, we're a 64-year-old company. We have been in the electrical industry for the whole time in various forms, from a service company to a distributor to multinational company. We've been all over. We've bought and sold companies, but probably for the last 15 years, we've been renting electrical test and measurement equipment really all over the world. So it's been quite the journey, and obviously software is a key part of that for us.
So how long have you been a NetScore customer?
So we transitioned in 2019 over to NetScore.
Okay. So as far as is the challenges that you had that led you to look at that solution, or what drove you to move towards a new way of doing business? You have any thoughts for us on that?
Well, I'm a big software proponent, and the need for a great software to run your business. I was fortunate enough to get my MID from Texas A&M, and I've done some pretty extensive research on various softwares to see which one will work best in distribution and in the rental space, if you will. So I think for any company to be efficient, they have to be able to have the software and the backbone back behind them these days to make it run. So I think the ROI on any expenditure for software is very much worth it.
Did you have much automation of these processes of running your business, of booking the rental and then billing and all that? Did you have much automation before, or just older systems?
Yeah, so we had an older Intuit system before. It just didn't, it wasn't robust enough. It was very much a good system for distribution and for service companies, but it wasn't sufficient for rental and sales of equipment, which is the core of our business. So it made no sense that I would continue on with that. What I was having to do was have Salesforce for CRM. I was having to have QuickBooks for some of our accounting processes, and then I had to have a homegrown system to keep up with our fixed assets and our rental fleet. And it was like 3 different systems was not efficient, and it wasn't what we needed. So I needed to make that conversion over to a one solution system, which is what led us to NetScore.
So they're all tightly integrated and communicating with one another and supporting your business better.
Yeah, so what we were having to do in the past is we would have to basically work with three different softwares, and that's, anytime you have that, regardless of the number of how efficient your employees are, there's still going to be errors, there's going to be mistakes, it's not efficient whatsoever with people's time. So we needed one system to cut all that waste out.
So fast forwarding a little bit from kind of the decisioning process of why you needed to do something, once you got into the solution, were there certain features that really were driving the decision the most? Whether it's around tracking the assets, like you said, or billing or whatever it was, were there some key features that were just had to have these, they were really important?
Well, we're kind of a unique rental company and in a unique industry. So we're not a United Rentals, a Sunbelt, Hertz, anything like that. We're a specific, very niche type of industry and rental company. So we had to have something that was flexible, that could be basically programmed to what our customer base is used to. So that was, being some customization to the product was very important to us. And that's what led us to NetSuite and ultimately NetScore.
So now that it's been implemented, are there like wow moments or things that you see that are that I can't believe I did it the other way before kind of deal? I mean, I don't know if there are ones that just jump out at you.
Oh, yeah. I mean, specifically as a business owner and the president of a company, so you want to be, the best, and and in doing so, you oftentimes spend hours making sure that you're, the best. So what I was having to do on the back end to make sure that we had that presence out there in front of customers, that we were doing the right thing, and getting them, getting their solutions to them and meeting their expectations. I was having to spend hours after work and weekends, and to make sure that we were having to run all these reports and then get them out to Excel and get them the appropriate information that they wanted and needed. So now that I don't have to do that, NetSuite, NetScore does that for me, set up these scripts, and are able to basically meet our customers' expectations, get them the information that they need, and I do not have to spend the extra hours on that. I get to, spend it on other things that are more beneficial for for a company and what I should be doing.
Have you found that's true for your employees as well? Has this made them more efficient so that it frees them up to do things, even if it's more just higher touch with the customer or follow-up or things like that that they couldn't do before because they were dealing with the nuts and bolts?
Yeah, so we have various scripts that go out and reports that go out to customers weekly, and they have requested information from us on a weekly basis, and each customer is obviously different and requires different information, and we're able to get that information to them, automated information to them, on weekly, monthly, quarterly basis, whichever they prefer. And that has been very, very, very good for them, very good for us. Helps us not just be a rental company to them. We're actually partners with our customers.
You had mentioned that the system was very customizable, and my understanding, what little I know about your operations, is that you had some unique billing requirements that needed to be built into the system. Is that something you'd like to talk about? Or
Sure. So in our industry, we rent on a daily basis and we rent on a monthly basis. We rent after the equipment has been out. We do not bill until the equipment has been out either 18 days or we receive it in beforehand. So that's just the way that our industry is. So no other industry is like that, right? I mean, most of the time you pick it up, rental starts, you pay, and then you do a credit on the back end. So for us, we had to have a system that was able to pick that up where, rental starts the next day after they pick it up, it stops the day prior to us receiving it. So it's been very, it was really pretty much the deciding factor of NetScore being able to do that for us. That was the ultimate, I guess, ultimate thing that took us over to the NetScore and NetSuite platform.
do you find now? I know that some of your equipment may from time to time need, whether it's a PM or whether it's actually maintenance because of just normal wear and tear and everything else, and you have to take that out of service. Is that whole process handled better? Are you able to financially account for that better on the back end? Has anything changed there?
Yeah, so we have had our equipment. Obviously, any company, you want to run thin on your fixed assets, your overhead, and keep your utilization rates up as much as possible. We were losing that utilization. It would come in and it would sit on a shelf until someone was able to get to it and repair it, or get it sent off to the manufacturer to get repaired, or whatever that process is. So so we were having to bulk up our inventory because our equipment was not getting repaired in time. It was sitting on a shelf. So our fixed assets had gone up. Dollar value had gone up while our utilization had gone down. So that made, obviously there's no rhyme or reason for that other than we weren't being efficient with repairing our equipment, getting it back into rentable status. So NetSuite has been able to, we're able to run those reports under maintenance reports. We're able to get a better idea of our equipment that's coming out for calibration. So it's been very good at having those automated reports come to the appropriate person and have those individuals take ownership of that versus, the whole operations having to come up with a solution.
Sounds like that would be huge ROI right there if you're able to have your assets employed more so, and you don't have to carry as many capital assets on your books. That right there, from a payback standpoint, must have been huge.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, we do a very good job at keeping our utilization rates up on our equipment, and we do a very good job at making sure that our equipment is inspected and it is running properly and looks great going out and is great going out. It's calibrated, everything is with it. But in the past, that was almost a manual process of having to come up with, to get all of that information and make sure our equipment and our inventory had the right mix and that it was running properly. So now then, we don't have to have that. We know what we need when we need it. We know what's under maintenance, how long it's under maintenance. We have all that information. It's been very, a definite ROI for sure.
So I know that you said you make sure when it goes out, it's all been checked over and it's working well and everything else. How does that whole process work, out of curiosity? What happens if a customer comes back and says, oh, there was an issue with this piece of equipment, or it potentially could be that they accidentally damaged it while they were using it? Does this system help augment that in any way? Or
yeah, so NetScore was able to customize it once again for us. So if a customer has a complaint about equipment, we're able to and put that information on the sales order. If the equipment comes back damaged, we're able to also put that information on the sales order. So we're able to, operations is able to notify sales. Sales is able to notify the customer. We have all that information at our fingertips there, which in the past it was, basically a red flag whenever it came in. We would have to, if a customer complained about a piece of equipment, then we would have to manually, basically an Outlook or Excel or something, come up with some kind of note that whenever it came back to look at it, which was, maybe a 90% hit rate on that, where 10% of the time it would slip through until it got to operations to test it out. But now then, as soon as it comes in the door, it automatically goes to the defect line, and we're able to check it out immediately and get the customer's complaint addressed at that time, instead of having to wait around a week or two for it to get tested out.
that's fantastic. That's great. So being the businessman that you are, I wonder, have you all put any numbers, like quantified what the ROI on the solution has been, or what the internal rate of return or any of that? Have you looked at that? Or
we haven't done that yet, and that was I wanted. So we transferred or transitioned to NetSuite on the rental side in July of 2019. So we had a half year on the rental side. Then last year, as we all know, COVID was in full effect. So I really wanted to get a full year under my belt of quasi-normal activity. So our plan is in January of this year to look at 2021 numbers to kind of get a kind of a baseline and kind of a return on that investment. But as far as, you know, our business has grown about 40% over the last year and a half, and we've done that by only hiring probably about three additional employees, and we would not have been able to do that volume of growth without hiring more people. So, you know, for us to keep their per employee revenue up has been very, very good for us.
Well, and if you've added that much revenue and your business has grown like that, and what has happened as far as the assets, because you had indicated with your assets, you were able to be more efficient with the assets that you had, or even decrease the number of assets you had. So would you say that you were able to decrease the amount of assets you had by a certain amount, or even keeping it even and increasing your sales quite a bit?
Well, we've done that by increasing the number of right assets, right? So we have doubled our fleet over, well, actually more than doubled our fleet over the past year and a half. We've done that by having the right mix in place and the right utilization in place of assets. So for me, you know, having the right mix of assets in our fleet has enabled us to meet the customer's demands. Meeting the customer demands in turn obviously increases our revenue. So, and makes us more of a, as we say, a partner to our customers, not just another rental company.
Fantastic. Okay, so Rich, any thoughts from you as far as things we might want to focus on, or things that we missed? Or
Yes, I got a couple questions, Lane, if I'll let you get a drink there and take a break for a second, but I've got a few other questions I'd like to ask just to kind of fill in some gaps that would help for the overall presentation. So I'm going to go ahead and just ask those questions, and then I'll come back later with Barry and have him address the questions, and I'll record that. But just to keep it flowing for you, I'll ask the questions and kind of keep it going that way. So one question at the beginning I'd like to capture is, how long have you been a NetSuite customer, and did you start using NetSuite prior to NetScore and then added NetScore, or did you do it all at one time in one big implementation?
So we had I had a team that looked at, you know, multiple options that were out there for. So continue on with Intuit, or, you know, if they had a solution, come up with we were utilizing Salesforce beforehand for our CRM package. Salesforce, you know, has multiple different options, and very powerful. So to see if we want to go down that path, and obviously NetSuite. So and the key that to us was the rental side of the business and what could handle that. So for us, we chose basically NetScore before we chose NetSuite. So we spoke to the NetScore guys, and they were actually the selling factor for us for NetSuite. So we made that transition at the same time. So we did that in 2019. And then we have a distributor side of our business as well. So those guys transitioned over in January 2020. So that was, I guess, 6 months later, we pulled those guys in to pull into one platform, merge them together.
Very good. All right, that was very helpful. That will add some clarity
Great.
for the attendees. Another question about features. If you were to identify in your mind, what were the top maybe 3 features that NetScore has brought to the table that you like the most, or really have been the most beneficial to your organization?
I think number one obviously is customization. NetScore has been phenomenal at we lay out our processes, and they have been able to basically take our processes and put them into software that and automate all that for us, where in the past that hasn't happened. We're able to give customers reports on the rentals, their calibration, their purchases automatically every month. Some want it every week, some want it quarterly. So having all that automated, fantastic. And that's, again, customization that NetScore's done for us. And then on the management side, being able to look at key performance indicators, look at our dashboards, have all that information in one screen available to me, even on the weekends. If I wanted to look at it on the, obviously as a business owner, I'll look at it on the weekends. I look at it at all hours of the night, right? So for me to have that information at hand, very important to me.
So in terms of the customizations, that was a big deal maker for NetScore.
Right.
What you spoke primarily about the billing. I think Barry asked you about that. Were there other key customizations that were extremely important to ECP that were just vital to or mission critical to your organization?
And well, for us, it was the obviously the customization on our customers are used to being invoiced not only from us but from our competitors a certain way. So we have to fit within our industry norms. So there's not an out-of-box solution for that. So we obviously had to have that customized and had to feel comfortable that whoever we chose could see that vision, could see that process, and stay within that. So the guys at NetScore were very good at, and actually I would say better than good at listening to our processes. Well, whenever we finished our initial phone call, I was like, told our inside manager who was over this project, said they're not going to get this. I mean, I didn't feel that they understood what we had envisioned there. I was like, they're going to come back with a number, and it's going to be for this customization, and it's not going to be enough. It's going to be misquoted. So be prepared for that. And they made me eat those words. They came back, they were on point. They didn't charge me anymore. The first product out of the gate was correct. There was really no much more interaction between us, and it was on time. They told us, I want to say it was like 6 weeks that they told us to get that to get the product out to us, and they were on point with that, and it was working exactly like I wanted it, with some tweaks, not from their side but from our side. We're like, ooh, this would be nice now that we see that it's running. So very much shocked, if you will, at how good those guys were for us.
Forgive me if you answered this, but how long did it take to put up the solution?
Well, it was basically, after you get through all the red tape of in contracts stuff, that after that, it was it wasn't a huge process. So I think, probably all in, we were probably about 8 to 10 weeks. So very, very
That's
fast.
good.
Yes. And we had the ability to, on our side, to devote the manpower of, getting the information to NetScore and to NetSuite in a timely manner. So I had one guy that was just basically dedicated to this to get it up and running. That was, that important to us. So.
Now, is that both NetScore and NetSuite, or was it phase one NetScore and then NetSuite came behind?
So we launched NetScore and NetSuite at the same time. So,
right.
And NetScore was able to get that implemented for us at the same time. So we had, one guy who was over that project for us, and he, devoted many hours of scrubbing data. Like I said, we're from, and like you've guys said, we're, started in 1967. So I think our first ECP's first ERP system was from 1987, 80 something, and it was green screen. It was,
Yeah.
so that was a lot, and all that information and it was an older Intuit system, so all that information just got pulled forward over the years. So you have years of bad data in that. So we had an intentional effort and intentional purpose of scrubbing our data before we uploaded that into NetSuite and NetScore. So that was by far the longest process and the most work on our side. Making sure we had clean, accurate data, because I definitely did not want to have bad data in. If I get bad data in, I get bad data out. So I didn't want that to occur. So, scrubbing data beforehand was definitely the hardest process.
Yeah, it could be arduous because, think of customer records. You could have the same customer that has like their state industries or state IND or state industries Inc. and they're all the same customer, right?
Right. So we had plenty, many of those. And, throughout that, however many years, 40 years of having a ERP system. So in that amount of time, like any industry, there's consolidation, there's people, buying other, vendors buying other vendors, customers buying other customers. So, there was a lot of information in there that needed to be cleaned, unfortunately. But
so Wayne, I have just a couple quick more questions. I wanted to make sure that I could get a somewhat succinct answer around the benefits that you've seen after you have now had this running for a period of time. So if you were to encapsulate, what do you think the top 3 benefits that have delivered value to ECP, what do you think they would be?
I think it is, for us, it's our, on the rental side of the business, it's our fixed asset. The fixed asset module has been very good for us. And, keeping up with asset depreciation, obviously very important for a rental company, disposing of assets, and making sure that that was accounted for properly. In the past, what would happen, we obviously, well, not obviously, we have a CPA that comes in. Our CPA comes in once a month and verifies our books and make sure that everything is right. And then we, as far as their fixed asset module side, that was a manual process in the past. So what would happen, year end, then we would try to match up our accounting books and our NetSuite books or QuickBooks books or Intuit books before that, and we'd get to December and we would have a 6-figure hit to our books. And we're like, what the? We think we made all this money, and then we get hit because we disposed of an asset, we sold an asset, we did whatever to an asset, it got damaged or whatever, and then you have to eat all that the book value on there. So for us, obviously, the fixed asset module has been very helpful. We don't have to, I know exactly every month what I'm making, every day, every week, what our net income is, and I don't have to worry about having these surprises come at the end of the year. So that's been very beneficial for us. I said to keep KPIs, looking in the past, I would have to keep an Excel spreadsheet, and I would have my own tables and graphs on my Excel sheets to kind of show me, my growth and my percents and, whatever I want to look at. And I don't have to do that now. I can have the KPIs that show up on my dashboard, and look at those every day. Try not to look at them every minute, but I still want to see how we're doing, and our so that's been very beneficial for us as well. Time, less stress off of me, less time off of me, which is I can devote to other things for sure.
So if you were to, have other peers in the room with you, and you were sitting around a table talking about software and how to automate, improve your business, you've now gone through the process. You're a veteran of going through this thing. What would you say to other people? What advice would you be able to give? What have you learned that you could share about automating and driving this sort of software solution in your business?
I think for me, I did a conversion when I first was out of college with my first company. I was out of college, and I was the the branch liaison, if you will, for that, and that was many years ago. We won't say how many, but so that process kind of I had an envision, and it was a fairly smooth process. Obviously, it had hiccups. Obviously, dealing with a lot. Back in that day, it was a lot of employees who didn't have the best computer skills available to them, or just weren't educated in computer skills at the time. Of the going to GUI. I mean, it was again kind of a DOS Apex type of software. So went through that, and then when I came to ECP as Vice President of Operations before I purchased this company, same thing. I moved from an older into a program, and I just upgraded that program into a more user-friendly program. But still, that was a process all on its own. So when I was going into this program, I am not comfortable with the backbone of this. I was very comfortable with the other solution, other touchstone program. I was able to do some light programming. It was a SQL program, so I was able to do some programming on that, had some idea of that. But all of my employees, most of them, per se, I would say probably 90% of my employees are 20s, early 30s. So for me, it was their comfortableness with this program, right, and the software transition. How is that going to go? I do not have the ability to get into NetSuite and make changes like I have in the past, because it's I'm not used to this. Every one of my employees is very comfortable with it. They're able to go in and run their own reports, generate their own reports. They're able to do that. So for me, the transition was made easier because my employees were comfortable with it. My employees actually are the ones who said, this is what we want to go with. My employees were the ones who said, we are very comfortable with running all these reports and doing making this happen. It's much better than where we were before. So it's caused me to do some learning, if you will. Not a bad thing. So, but the employees made it a much easier process for sure.
how would you encapsulate any best practice, or what you just kind of shared is a bit of a best practice in using your employees or having them have a part of the decision and the implementation? But are there best practices that you could just kind of encapsulate for me that you have learned from this experience?
I think in the past, going through those other conversions, it was because I knew it was imperative to get good, solid data coming in. So for us, it was we made sure that we did inventory beforehand, made sure that our inventory was correct, made sure that we went through the whole processes of cleaning and scrubbing our vendor list, our customer list, making sure that those were on point and we had all the information that we needed, the appropriate information. Got rid of fax numbers, so got email addresses, ACH information. Pulled all that information in, uploaded it, dumped it into a CSV file and then uploaded it, right? So for us, we spent a huge amount of time, and that was one person's job for months of cleaning the data, make sure that all the data was on point. I think cleaning it after the fact, like I tried to do on the last two conversions, not successful. So this time I definitely made sure that my stuff was on point before I made that conversion.
All right, very good. One last question. Have you discovered any competitive differentiation, competitive advantage that you have gained from being able to drive this, this new NetScore solution in your business?
Well, I think for us, our invoices are always, always on point. We have very few credits. We have very few issues on the customer side. And in the past, that was a very manual process. Now then, not so much. I mean, it's very much our invoices are always on point. There's no qualms or problems with the customer, other than a customer asking us to change something, but that's on their end, not on our end. So for us, being able to get invoices out correctly on time has been definitely a differentiator between us and our competitors for sure.
Did you see
that helped with your days receivable?
Did you, hang on one second, did you see customer satisfaction go up at all?
Yeah, so well, in the past, our customers have always been satisfied with our invoices, but it was just a time savings for us. I mean, our accounting, we went from 3 accountants down to 2 accountants. Now then I'm down to 1 accountant, right? And so I don't have to, because it's all automated. So that's been and it was one of those things where we had a staff accountant on staff who was basically generating on that for the past year and a half, making sure that all of our information was correct. And then she was able to transition out. But, so internally, the satisfaction, internal satisfaction is great because we don't have all that work ahead of us. And then externally, obviously, our customers are very satisfied and very, we get praise after praise of being the best in the industry at our invoices.
I'm sorry, Barry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just asking it. It seems like invoices get out quicker and they're maybe more accurate, et cetera. Have you found that that's reduced your days receivable outstanding at all?
Yes, it has. So, we have some very large customers, international customers who have to submit all of our invoices in portals. And if, in the past, if there were if we had to wait for information to get them in and put it into their portals, then that's going to be days, weeks, outstanding. But now then we're able to submit those invoices onto the portals, and they pay us, on within terms for sure. So that's
great.
helped out tremendously.
Hey, I did have one more if we've just got a minute, Rich and Lane. I know we've kind of touched on this, but if you put yourself in the shoes of your customer and what their experience was previously and what their experience is now, could you give us a feel for how that's improved and they're just in general what that process is? And
I think as far as our customers go, they it's been a not so, I think that's the good thing, right, for us, is that wasn't so evident that there was a change. It was the real, because they didn't see how the sausage was made, right? It was here it is. So we were spending a lot of time meeting customer expectations on the back end and putting presenting that in a way that was beneficial to them. So we're doing that on the back end. It's just it's very cumbersome, very time consuming. So it's more internal than it was external. And that was I guess another key to me was to make sure that when we did make that transition, that it wasn't overly evident to our customers that we were making a transition to a new database.
So one final question to top this whole thing off. So if you were to step back and look at this whole thing, you've done all these implementations and conversions in the past. How would you score this thing? How would you grade it in terms of the overall experience? And just give us a sense of how you how you thought it all went.
Well, I think it went great. I think the only, and I've told NetSuite this past, right, is that the only downside to me is not having the like an in-person training. That's just old school who I am, and I paid thousands of dollars to have a trainer come in the past on our other two conversions. But again, every one of my employees has watched the videos, they figure it out on their own, and they would rather, that's how they learn, right? That's not how I learn. So, for me and my age group, then I would give it an 8 out of 10. I would just think that, pretty sure that every one of my employees would give it a 10 out of 10. And that's just for the training side of the equation. So everything else, financial, reports, customer satisfaction, all of that, 100% great.
Okay.
Outstanding.
Well, that's all I've got. Barry, anything else? We got the top of the hour here. We get Lane moving on with his day.
I think I'm fine if you think you have enough for what you need, Rich.
Yeah. So just real quick, Lane, we will be taking this. I've got to edit it, put visuals over top of it. But then we'll be getting it together over the next week and a half, and then presenting it to NetSuite for the Suite World Conference. But we'll get you a copy so that you can see it. If there's anything that you don't like or whatever, you can flag that for us and we'll take care of it. So this isn't a gotcha video. It's got to make sense to you and it's got to work for you as well. So we'll get you a copy before we go live with it.
That's great.
Okay, we really appreciate the time
Thank
today.
you, sir.
Yes, hopefully it's not the best at TV or voice, so sorry.
I think you did fantastic. You did a lot better than I did, so that's not saying much. But.
So hopefully, yes, so sorry y'all had to deal with this. Sorry.
It went fine. Appreciate the time, Lane. It really did go well.
All right, thank you guys.
Right. Thank you.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Hey.
I'm going to stop the recording.